Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we'll be exploring the connection between business continuity and cybersecurity.
Uh-huh.
And to help us do that, we've got some really fascinating internal documents from a fictional company, CyberCek AB.
Okay.
They take security and resilience super seriously, and I have to say, I was already fascinated by their approach, but after digging into their docs, it's clear they're doing some really innovative things.
It's interesting that you say that because when I first looked at these documents, what struck me wasn't some fancy tech or, a complex process,
Right.
but their management business continuity statement.
Hmm.
It's surprisingly detailed, and it seems to underpin their whole approach.
I have to admit, when I first saw management business continuity statement, I was like, oof, okay, more corporate jargon.
Right.
But the way CyberCheck AB uses it is really interesting.
Yeah.
It's not just a formality.
Uh-huh.
It's like this blueprint for building a resilient organization.
It is. It's like their security constitution in a way. It lays out their values and priorities for everyone to see. Employees, stakeholders, even competitors. It's this bold statement that says this is how seriously we take protecting ourselves, and this is what you can expect from us.
And it goes beyond just reacting to problems, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're emphasizing proactive protection and a culture of security that's woven into that statement.
Yeah.
So it's not just an IT thing.
Right.
It's a whole company mindset.
Absolutely. And they actually outline very specific objectives
Right.
in their statement.
Right.
Maintaining critical operations, minimizing disruption impact,
Okay.
protecting assets. These things might seem obvious at first glance,
Sure.
but by clearly defining them, it aligns everyone's efforts and allows them to measure their success. So it's not just about feeling secure, it's about knowing you've taken the right steps to achieve a quantifiable level of security.
Oh, interesting.
And I think that's something we can all apply to our own digital lives, too.
Right. Like, are you clear on what your own personal security goals are? Do you even know what you're trying to protect and the steps you're taking to do so?
Right.
Because it's easy to get overwhelmed by all this,
It is.
but having that clear objective can really focus your efforts.
Absolutely. And what I found really interesting
Yeah.
was CyberCheck AB's approach to risk assessment.
Okay.
They're not just thinking about big disasters or system failures. They're meticulously analyzing
Right.
their vulnerabilities to cyber threats.
Okay.
It's like they're thinking like hackers, trying to identify all the potential weak points in their systems and processes.
They even have a dedicated team that does red teaming exercises
Oh, wow.
where they simulate attacks to see how well their defenses hold up.
Wow.
I was reading about how they uncovered a vulnerability in their remote access system
Uh-huh.
during one of these exercises.
Okay.
And it could have been disastrous if a real attacker had exploited it.
Oh, for sure.
It's like they're constantly playing a game of chess against potential threats,
Yeah.
trying to anticipate every move.
Yeah, and they don't stop at just identifying the risks. They develop specific mitigation strategies for each one.
Okay.
They invest in cutting-edge security technologies.
Mhm.
They constantly update and patch their software. They train their employees on cybersecurity best practices.
So they're not just throwing money at the problem.
No.
They're being really strategic and targeted in their approach.
Exactly.
I was particularly struck by how they prioritize identifying those critical business functions
Okay.
and conducting what's known as a business impact analysis.
Right.
Now, I'll admit,
Yeah.
the first time I read about BIA,
Uh-huh.
I was a little intimidated.
Sure.
But the way CyberCheck AB breaks it down in their documentation
Yeah.
makes it seem much more approachable.
It can seem complex, but at its core,
Yeah.
BIA is about understanding the potential consequences of disruptions to those functions that are absolutely essential to your operations.
Okay.
So for CyberCheck AB, that includes their custom database, their financial systems, their manufacturing processes.
Gotcha.
So they've quantified the potential fallout of different scenarios,
I
like
see.
data breaches or system outages, so they can prioritize
Hey,
their mitigation and recovery efforts.
this is like a risk-benefit analysis, but on steroids.
Yes, exactly.
And it's really fascinating how they've mapped out those potential impact scenarios in detail.
Yeah.
For example, they calculated that a 1-hour outage
Uh-huh.
of their customer database
Okay.
could cost them $10,000 in lost revenue
Wow.
and potentially damage their reputation.
Right.
So that kind of concrete analysis really drives home the importance of those proactive security measures.
It's not just about preventing attacks.
Right.
It's also about minimizing the damage if one does occur. And that's where their incident response framework comes in.
Yeah.
They've got a dedicated team ready to activate at a moment's notice.
Wow.
Clear communication protocols to inform stakeholders,
Uh-huh.
and detailed procedures for restoring systems and data.
So it's like they have a playbook
Yeah,
for every possible cyber disaster.
they do, yeah.
And they're constantly practicing those plays to make sure everyone's ready to perform when the pressure's on.
That level of preparedness is essential in today's threat landscape.
Absolutely.
Because, let's face it, even the most secure organizations can still be breached.
Right.
The key is to minimize the damage and recover quickly.
Their internal documents even detail
Yeah.
the specific roles and responsibilities
Okay.
for incident
Oh,
response.
interesting.
They've got someone in charge of containment,
Okay.
someone in charge of communication, someone in charge of forensics.
Hmm.
It's like this well-oiled machine designed to limit the impact
Wow.
of any security incident.
And they don't just create these plans
No.
and then file them away.
Right.
They emphasize regular testing and drills
Okay.
to make sure their business continuity and cybersecurity plans are actually effective.
So they're running simulations.
Yeah.
They're conducting tabletop exercises. They're constantly evaluating and refining their procedures.
Exactly. It's like that saying, practice makes perfect.
Right. But in this case, it's more like practice makes resilient.
Yeah.
It's about building muscle memory so that when a real incident occurs, they can respond quickly and effectively
Right.
without panicking or making costly mistakes.
Their commitment to continuous improvement is really impressive.
It is.
They recognize that the threat landscape is constantly evolving,
Right.
so they're always looking for ways to enhance their security posture.
This reminds me of something you said earlier
Yeah.
about how CyberCek AB sees their management business continuity statement as this public declaration
Yeah.
of their values.
Yeah.
It's not just about compliance.
Right.
It's about building trust with stakeholders and demonstrating their commitment to security.
That's a really important point because in today's world,
Yeah.
security breaches can have a devastating impact on a company's reputation. For sure.
By publicly demonstrating their commitment to security.
Right.
CyberCek AB is building trust with customers, partners, investors.
It's like saying, we take your data and your safety seriously,
Yeah.
and we're doing everything we can to protect them.
Absolutely.
And that trust is essential for building and maintaining a strong brand.
Absolutely. It's also about demonstrating leadership in the industry. CyberCek AB is setting a high bar for others to follow,
Yeah.
which ultimately benefits everyone.
So to recap,
Yeah.
we've seen how CyberCek AB prioritizes identifying those critical business functions, conducting that BIA, assessing cybersecurity risks, developing those mitigation strategies,
Right.
prioritizing response and recovery efforts, and engaging in regular testing and drills.
Yes.
So this holistic approach to business continuity and cybersecurity
Yeah.
seems like the gold standard.
And what's fascinating is that these principles are relevant to everyone, not just large corporations.
Interesting. Whether you're managing a small business or even just your own personal digital life, the core concepts are the same.
That's a great point. You know, we've covered a lot of ground here,
We have.
but I'm curious to know what stands out to you the most about CyberCek AB's approach.
Yeah.
What's the one thing you think our listeners should take away from this deep dive so far?
You know, I think what I find most impressive is their unwavering commitment to proactivity.
Okay.
They're not waiting for disaster to strike.
Right.
They're actively anticipating and preparing for it.
Mm.
And they're doing it in a way that's both strategic and comprehensive.
It's a reminder that we all have a role to play
We do.
in securing our digital lives, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about relying on technology. It's about making those smart choices, staying informed, and being proactive.
And I think that's a great segue to our next topic.
Okay.
In part 2, we'll shift gears and dive into the world of personal cybersecurity.
Okay.
We'll explore practical tips and strategies that you can implement in your own life to stay safe and secure online.
So stay tuned because we're going to get even deeper into the fascinating world of cybersecurity.
We are
See you in part 2.
looking forward to it.
Welcome back to the deep dive. In part 1, we went behind the scenes with CyberCek AB,
Right.
a fictional company that's like a model for security and resilience. But now let's bring it home.
Okay.
How can you apply those principles to your own digital life?
Yeah, because cybersecurity isn't just a corporate concern anymore, is it?
Wow.
It's personal.
Yeah.
We bank online.
We do.
We shop online, we connect with friends,
Right.
we store precious memories, all in the digital realm.
Mm-hmm.
And protecting all of that is what personal cybersecurity is all about.
I think a lot of people hear cybersecurity and their eyes kind of glaze over.
Right.
They feel overwhelmed. Like, where do you even begin?
It is. It can seem daunting.
Yeah.
But remember what we learned from CyberCek AB. Clarity of goals, being proactive, and taking a layered approach.
Right.
Those same principles can guide us here, too.
Yeah.
We don't need to become security experts overnight, but we can make smart choices.
So let's break it down.
Okay.
If we think of our digital lives like CyberCek AB thinks about their business, what are our critical functions?
Right.
What needs the most protection?
It's about identifying those digital assets that would cause the most disruption or distress if they were compromised.
Okay.
So think about things like your financial accounts,
Right.
your personal data, your social media profiles.
Yeah.
For some people, it's their creative work or their online business. What are your crown jewels that need the strongest defenses?
It's like that home inventory you're supposed to have for insurance in case of a fire or a theft.
Right.
You might not list every spoon,
Right.
but you know it's irreplaceable.
Exactly.
Okay, so we know what we need to protect.
Yeah.
Now we need to think like CyberCek AB's red team. What are the potential threats to those assets?
Right. So we're talking about things like weak passwords,
Okay.
falling for phishing scams,
Uh-huh.
malware lurking on dodgy websites.
See, that's where I start to get nervous.
Yeah.
Feels like there are threats everywhere.
There are risks, that's true.
Right.
But you know what they say? Knowledge is power. The more we understand these threats,
Yeah.
the better we can protect ourselves.
Oh.
Remember, CyberCek AB invests heavily in training their employees.
Right.
We can do the same for ourselves by just learning the basics.
So first things first,
Okay.
passwords.
Big one.
Yeah, I know we all know we should have strong, unique
Yeah.
passwords for every account.
Yes.
But realistically, how many people actually do that?
It's so tempting to use the same, easy-to-remember password everywhere.
It is.
But that is a recipe for disaster.
Wow.
Because one breach, and suddenly they have access to everything.
Oh, wow.
So a strong password, at least 12 characters, mix of upper and lowercase.
Numbers, symbols, that's your first line of defense.
But remembering a dozen of those
Right.
is a nightmare.
It is, and that's where password managers come in.
Okay, I have to admit, I'm a bit hesitant to trust a third party
Sure.
with all that sensitive info.
I understand the concern, but
Yeah.
reputable password managers use strong encryption, and they're often far safer than the alternatives.
Okay.
I mean, would you rather write your passwords on sticky notes
No.
or risk reusing the same one across your accounts?
Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
So strong, unique passwords managed securely.
Yes.
What's next?
Two-factor authentication,
Okay.
whenever possible.
What's that?
It adds an extra step to logging in,
Okay.
so you'll need something in addition to your password, like a code from your phone or email.
So it's like that bank vault needing two keys turned simultaneously, right?
Exactly.
One key isn't enough.
Exactly. It makes it significantly harder for attackers to gain access, even if they've somehow stolen your password. Speaking of stolen passwords,
Yeah.
phishing scams are getting so clever these days.
They are.
It's hard to tell what's real and what's fake.
They are getting more convincing.
Yeah.
But we can train ourselves to be more discerning, just like CyberCek AB trains its employees
Okay.
to spot those suspicious emails. Look for red flags.
Like what?
Misspellings, strange email addresses, requests for sensitive information.
Okay.
Legitimate organizations will never ask for things like your account number or social security number via email.
It's like that saying,
Yeah.
if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Exactly.
Right.
Be skeptical, be cautious, and when in doubt, contact the organization directly through a trusted channel to verify.
So passwords, two-factor authentication, phishing awareness.
Yep.
Check, check, check.
Uh-huh.
What about all the other stuff out there?
Right.
Like malware and viruses?
Yeah,
Is antivirus software still a thing?
absolutely.
Really?
It's like that security guard at the entrance, scanning for anything suspicious.
Okay.
While no antivirus is perfect, it significantly reduces your risk.
Right.
Choose a reputable one and keep it updated, just like you would with any other security measure.
Right. And that reminds me of how CyberCek AB is constantly updating their systems and procedures.
Yes.
So we need to do the same.
Right, exactly. It's not a set it and forget it situation.
Right.
The threat landscape is always evolving, so we need to adapt.
And how do we do that?
Well, that means keeping our software updated,
Uh-huh.
being cautious about what we download,
Okay.
and staying informed about emerging threats.
Speaking of staying informed,
Yeah.
there's so many resources available these days, right?
There are.
Websites, articles, even podcasts like this one.
Exactly.
It's not about becoming cybersecurity gurus.
Right.
It's just about knowing where to find that reliable info.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of common sense.
Right.
If something seems fishy, trust your instincts.
Hmm.
It's better to be safe than sorry.
Okay, all this talk about protecting our data
Yeah.
reminds me, we haven't even talked about backups.
Oh, that's a crucial one.
Yeah, that's got to be crucial, right?
Data backups are essential.
Okay.
Imagine losing all your photos, documents, financial records.
Oh, it would be devastating.
It would be devastating.
Yeah.
So just like CyberCek AB has those redundant systems,
Wow.
we need multiple copies of our important data.
Not just relying on my computer's hard drive,
Right.
which could crash at any moment.
Exactly. External drives,
Oh.
cloud storage, even a simple USB stick for those critical files.
Right.
Having multiple backups in different locations is key.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
That's
And it's
important.
not just about protecting against cyber attacks, you
Right.
know.
Right.
What if your computer's stolen or there's a fire?
Oh, true.
Backups provide peace of mind knowing that your data is safe no matter what.
Okay, so to recap,
Yeah.
we've got strong passwords,
Yes.
two-factor authentication, phishing awareness,
Yeah.
being cautious about downloads,
Right.
using antivirus software,
Yes.
and backing up our data.
All essential.
It feels manageable when you break it down like that.
It does. And remember, cybersecurity is a journey, not a destination.
Hmm.
We don't have to do everything perfectly, but every step we take makes a difference.
I think that's a great message for our listeners to take away.
Yeah.
It's not about being overwhelmed or intimidated by all this. It's about taking those small,
Right.
consistent steps to protect ourselves.
Exactly. And always remember,
Yeah.
if you do make a mistake, and we all do,
We do.
it's not the end of the world.
Okay.
The important thing is to learn from it
Right.
and keep moving forward.
This has been incredibly helpful.
Good.
But before we move on to the future of cybersecurity,
Okay.
in part 3,
Yeah.
is there one final nugget of wisdom you'd like to share about protecting our digital lives?
You know, I think the best security system is useless if we don't use it properly. It's not just about the technology.
Right.
It's about our own behavior.
Okay.
Being mindful, being aware, making those smart choices, that's what ultimately makes the difference.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about being proactive, informed, and empowered to protect our own digital well-being.
Exactly.
All right, everyone, that wraps up part 2 of our deep dive.
Uh-huh.
We've tackled some practical tips for personal cybersecurity,
Yes.
but there's more to explore.
There is.
In part 3, we're going to look ahead
Yes.
at the future of cybersecurity, talking about emerging trends and the challenges that lie ahead.
That's good.
So stay tuned because things are about to get even more interesting. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've journeyed from CyberCek AB's corporate security strategies to practical tips for safeguarding your own digital life.
Yeah.
Now for the grand finale.
Uh-huh.
What does the future hold for cybersecurity? Get ready because things are about to get really interesting.
The digital landscape is evolving at an incredible pace.
It is.
And what I find so fascinating is how cybersecurity is becoming interwoven with every facet of our lives.
What we consider normal today will be vastly different in the next few years.
Give me an example.
Sure.
What trends should we be paying attention to?
Well, one that's already exploding is the Internet of Things,
Okay.
or IoT for short,
You're right.
where everyday objects are connected to the Internet.
Okay.
So we're talking your fridge, your thermostat, your car,
Right.
even your toothbrush,
Wow.
all generating data and creating potential entry points for cyber attacks.
So it's not just our computers and phones that are vulnerable anymore?
It's
It's like our whole house is a potential target.
That's the challenge and the opportunity.
Okay.
We need to rethink security. It's not just about building walls around individual devices.
Right.
It's about securing those entire ecosystems, homes, offices, cities.
That sounds like a massive undertaking.
It is.
How do we even begin to wrap our heads around that?
Well, collaboration is key.
Yeah.
We need governments setting standards,
Uh-huh.
businesses building secure products by design.
And individuals taking responsibility for their own digital hygiene.
So it's a shared responsibility.
It is. We're all in this digital world together.
Right.
So we need to work together to keep it safe.
And what about artificial intelligence?
Oh, AI is going to be huge.
Yeah.
It's a tool that can analyze massive amounts of data,
Right.
spot patterns, and detect threats in real time.
So it's like having an army of digital detectives working around the clock.
That's a great way to put it.
But isn't there a risk of AI being used by the bad guys too?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword.
Hmm.
Both defenders and attackers are racing to leverage AI's capabilities.
So it's like this constant arms race,
It is.
pushing both sides to innovate.
Exactly.
It's like a high-stakes game of chess with the future of our digital lives hanging in the balance.
That's a great analogy.
Are there any developments in AI that give you hope?
There are, yeah.
Okay, what are they?
One promising area is behavioral biometrics.
What's that?
So imagine a system that can recognize you based on your typing patterns,
Okay,
your mouse movements,
right.
how you hold your phone.
Interesting.
It's a level of personalization that makes it much harder for imposters.
It's like having a digital fingerprint.
It is.
That's unique to you.
Exactly.
But what about all the data being collected?
Yeah.
Privacy is a huge concern with all this.
You're right. Ethical considerations are crucial as these technologies evolve. We need robust regulations and safeguards to ensure that data is used responsibly and ethically.
It's like we're writing the rules for a whole new digital society.
We are.
And those rules need to reflect our values.
Absolutely. And speaking of values,
Yeah.
one of the most hopeful trends I see is a growing awareness of the importance of digital ethics.
Okay.
More and more people are asking tough questions about data privacy,
Right.
algorithmic bias, and the responsible use of technology.
So it's like we're finally waking up to the fact that our digital lives have real-world consequences.
We are, and that awareness is crucial. Okay.
It's driving the development of ethical frameworks, privacy-enhancing technologies, and a more informed and engaged public.
So it's not all doom and gloom. There's actually reason for optimism.
I believe so,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
The challenges are real, but so are the opportunities. We're on the cusp of a new era in cybersecurity where innovation and collaboration will be key to creating a safer, more secure, and more ethical digital world.
I think this whole conversation has really highlighted something for me.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just understand the technical aspects of cybersecurity.
Right.
We need to understand the human element too.
Absolutely.
The ethics, the psychology, the social impact.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Cybersecurity is ultimately about people. It's about protecting our privacy, our freedom, our way of life in this increasingly digital world.
Well said. And with that thought-provoking statement, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive into the fascinating and ever-evolving world of business continuity and cybersecurity.
It's been a pleasure. We've covered a lot of ground, from corporate strategies to personal tips, from the present to the future.
We have.
But the most important takeaway is this: cybersecurity is a continuous process of learning, adapting, and taking action. It's a shared responsibility, and we all have a role to play in creating a safer digital world for everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So stay curious, stay informed, and stay vigilant.
The best advice.
And on that note, we'd like to thank you for joining us on the Deep Dive. Until next time, keep exploring.